The silence before the storm. The sky over Draenor was violet at dusk, a deep bruised color that always seemed to swallow the last rays of light. To outsiders, the planet was beautiful floating crystal spires, rivers that glowed faintly in the dark, and cities grown out of living stone. But for Marcus Hawley, it was a cage. He stood on the balcony of the alien quartermaster's tower, hands on the cold railing, watching the distant patrol ships glide overhead. Their silver hulls reflected the purple sky like daggers. He'd once been a soldier back on Earth. Now he was a mechanic for hire, patching ships that weren't his, under laws he hadn't chosen, for an empire that treated humanity like vermin. Galactic Empire didn't conquer Earth with fleets or armies. They didn't have to. Instead, they offered protection, prosperity, and unity. Earth's governments fractured. Corporations sold contracts, and before anyone noticed, humans were just another client species, stripped of sovereignty. Most bowed, a few resisted. Marcus had fought in those days. He still carried the scar along his jaw from the last battle of the orbital sieges. He lost. Humanity lost. And now, he was just one man in a universe where the word human was usually. Followed by a smirk. Behind him, the door hissed open. Rinala, his only real friend on this world, stepped into the twilight. Her tall, slender form shimmered faintly in the glow skin like molten glass, eyes burning like coals beneath. The Valen species always looked as though they were made of fire trapped in crystal. They were beautiful, terrifying, and fragile. The Empire treated them little better than humans. "You're brooding again," Rin said, voice soft but edged. "That's dangerous here." Marcus gave a humorless chuckle. "Everything's dangerous here." She moved beside him, leaning against the railing. Below, the city stretched outward miles of alien architecture built with geometric perfection. But the streets were quiet, too quiet. A curfew had been announced hours earlier. "You heard the message," Rin said, lowering her voice. "Another human colony erased. Ashes, no survivors." Marcus's jaw clenched. He had heard. The Empire called it pacification. He called it murder. But then came the rumor. A whisper moving across star systems, past in encrypted signals and hushed tavern corners. Humanity had sent a message, not begging, not bargaining. A warning. And the last line, spoken in raw, unpolished galactic common, was repeated everywhere like wildfire. Final warning from humanity to the Galactic Empire. Prepare for ruin. Rin glanced sideways at him. Was it real? Marcus didn't answer. He stared at the patrol ship carving its path across the sky. His silence was answer. Enough that something had changed. Humanity wasn't broken. Not completely. Somewhere, somehow, they had found their voice again, but the Empire was already moving to crush it. The balcony lights flickered. Then, from the city's heart, a thunderous explosion ripped through the twilight. Fire rose like a pillar against the violet sky. Sirens howled. Patrol ships veered sharply, racing toward the blast zone. Rin grabbed his arm, eyes wide with panic. "They've come for the message." Marcus knew she was right, and he also knew he couldn't run anymore. Asterisk the spark in the ashes smoke coiled. Above the city, alien soldiers in polished armor marched through the streets, weapons glowing faintly. The Empire's enforcers moved with surgical precision, sealing off entire sectors, block by block. Marcus and Rin sprinted through an alley, their footsteps echoing off crystal walls. "They're not just searching," Marcus muttered. "They're purging. They think the humans here know something," Rin hissed. "If the message came from one of your kind, it didn't come from here," Marcus cut her off. "But they'll burn this place anyway." As if on cue, a patrol skimmer roared overhead, flooding the alley with blinding white light. Marcus yanked Rin against the wall, just as energy bolts scorched the ground. He pulled a small device from his belt, nothing more than a patched-together EMP pulse. With a snap, he threw it upward. The skimmer faltered, lights flickering, and crashed onto a nearby rooftop with a metallic shriek. Rin stared at him. "You're supposed to be a mechanic." "I am," Marcus said. "Mechanics know how to break things too." They slipped deeper, into the Undercity, where the streets were narrower and shadows thicker. Here, whispers traveled faster than patrols. A group of Valen refugees huddled in a hidden alcove. They looked at Marcus with mistrust, but Rin's presence calmed them. One, an elder with cracks across her glowing skin, leaned forward. "The message," she rasped. "It was real, wasn't it?" Marcus hesitated. Every instinct told him to lie, to deny, to protect what little life he had. But then he saw the eyes of the refugees, burning with the same desperate hope he remembered from Earth's last days. "Yes," he said quietly. "It was real." The elder inhaled sharply, and for the first time in years, Marcus saw something dangerous in an alien's gaze. Belief got suddenly. Rin froze. She tilted her head, listening. "They're coming," boots thundered down the corridor. Empire soldiers. Marcus looked around. There was no way out, just walls of stone and frightened civilians. Then he noticed the faint hum beneath the floor. Maintenance tunnels. Old, forgotten, but still there. "Down," Marcus whispered. "Now." He slammed his boot against a weak section of the floor, cracking it open. One by one, the refugees slipped into the darkness below. Rin followed. Marcus dropped last, sealing the hatch just as armored soldiers stormed the alcove above Dot in the tunnels. The air was damp and hot. Faint lights flickered, casting long shadows. The group moved quickly, guided by Marcus's instincts. Finally, they reached an abandoned chamber lined with old machinery. Rusted pipes, cracked consoles, forgotten tech. Marcus knelt by a terminal, brushing dust away. To Rin's surprise, the screen flickered alive under his touch. "You can fix this?" she asked. Marcus's eyes hardened. "I can do more than fix it. I can send a signal." Her voice trembled. "To who?" He looked straight at her, to the ones who made that warning. The chamber went silent. The refugees stared at him in awe and fear. For the first time, Marcus realized something. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was war. Asterisk. Echoes of a forgotten war. The terminal buzzed faintly, struggling to life. Its language protocols were outdated, but Marcus coaxed it with steady hands. He patched wires with scrap, bypassed burnt circuits, and slowly the system obeyed. The refugees whispered in the shadows. For them, it was like watching an ancient priest commune with gods. Rin stood close, her fiery eyes fixed on the screen. "If the Empire tracks this signal—" "They will," Marcus interrupted. "But if we're fast, it won't matter." He typed in old codes, the same ones used by resistance cells during Earth's fall. Most would be useless now. But maybe, just maybe, someone was still listening. The console flickered. Then, against all odds, a voice crackled through. "Repeat, this is the Free Terran Fleet. Identify yourself." Marcus froze. His chest tightened. For years, he thought they were gone. Myths. Ghosts. But here they were. Alive. "This is Marcus Hawley," he whispered, voice shaking. "Ex-United Earth Forces. I'm on Drennar. The Empire's hunting humans here. They know about your warning." Silence followed. Then the voice came back, grim and sharp. "Hold position. Reinforcements inbound." And Marcus. He leaned closer. "Don't let them take you alive." Before Marcus could reply, the console went dark. Connection severed. Rin touched his shoulder. "What did they say?" He turned slowly. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with something she hadn't seen before. Humanity's not finished. Above them, an explosion shook the tunnels. Dust rained from the ceiling. The Empire had found them. The refugees panicked, voices rising. Marcus raised his hands. Listen to me. Help is coming. But we have to hold out until then. How? One cried. We have no weapons. Marcus looked around the chamber, the pipes, the valves, the half-dead machines. A mechanic's mind. Didn't see junk. It saw possibilities. We make weapons. The soldiers' footsteps echoed closer. The tunnels trembled with their advance. Marcus grabbed a length of pipe, sparks from his torch, and set to work. The war for Drenar had just begun. Asterisk the siege? Of shadows the tunnels shuddered with every detonation above. Dust sifted down like falling ash, coating the refugees in pale grit. The Empire was closing in, their search methodical, relentless. Somewhere beyond the walls, a sound of armored. Boots drew nearer. Marcus knelt in the center of the chamber, a torch in one hand and a half-welded device in the other. Sweat streaked his face despite the chill underground. The chamber stank of ozone and hot metal. He had always been good with machines. Ships, rifles, engines. If it was broken, he could fix it. But tonight, he wasn't fixing. He was building. Weapons for nothing. Asterisk, he jammed the pipe into a valve coupling and tightened it with an improvised wrench. A hiss filled the chamber as compressed vapor flowed through. He attached a spark coil, then tested the seal. A dull thump rattled the pipe like a drumbeat. A makeshift launcher. Crude, ugly, dangerous, but deadly at close range. Rin crouched beside him, watching intently. That thing won't hold, she warned. Marcus gave a grim smile. Doesn't need to. Just has to scare them long enough. The refugees murmured nervously in the background. Some clutched bits of scrap, sharpened into blades. Others held broken tools. Hope and terror warred in their eyes. The sound of marching grew louder. Rwine stood. They're coming. Marcus shoved the launcher into her hands. Then it's time to make them bleed. The first clash the soldiers poured into the tunnel like a flood of steel. Their armor glowed faintly under dim lights, faceless visors reflecting the refugees' fear. Energy. Rifles snapped up in unison. By decree of the Galactic Empire, their commander barked. All unauthorized humans are to be detained. Resistance will be punished. Marcus stepped forward, dust clinging to his scarred face. You want me? His voice echoed hard and clear. Come take me, the commander sneered. Kill the rest. That was when Rin fired. The launcher spat. Fire and shrapnel. The tunnel roared like thunder. Soldiers staggered, shields flaring as shards ripped into their formation. One fell screaming, armor smoking. Another dropped his rifle, clutching at a shattered visor. Chaos exploded. Refugees surged forward, wielding pipes and sharpened tools. They weren't soldiers, but desperation gave them strength. Marcus ripped a fallen soldier's sidearm free and fired down the corridor, each shot precise, brutal. He wasn't as fast as he used to be. His aim wasn't perfect. But he was enough. Rin moved like liquid flame, swinging the empty launcher like a club once its charge burned out. A soldier fell beneath her strike, visor cracking with a sickening crunch. For the first time, Imperial troops faltered in the Undercity. The cost, but victory was never free. The chamber filled with smoke and screams. A young Valen refugee was cut down by an energy bolt. Another staggered, burning, before collapsing into his kin's arms. The refugee's cries twisted into grief and fury. Marcus grabbed Rin by the shoulder. Fall back. We can't hold this tunnel, but now. He shoved her toward a side passage, covering their retreat with stolen rifle fire. Refugees dragged their wounded, stumbling over rubble and blood. The Empire's soldiers regrouped, pushing forward with mechanical Precision. They fell back deeper into the Undercity. The air grew hotter, the walls closer. Marcus knew the tunnels couldn't hide them forever. At last, they burst into a vast cavern. Pipes crisscrossed the ceiling like a steel web. Old turbines loomed in darkness, silent and corroded. Rin looked around, chest heaving. Where are we? Marcus's eyes darted across the machinery. Recognition flared. Old power station. Haven't seen one of these in years. And what good does that do us? He dropped to one knee, already pulling wires from a panel. If I can overload the turbines, we turn this whole cavern into a trap. Rin's eyes widened. That'll kill us too. Marcus's hands didn't stop moving. Better us than letting the Empire drag us out in chains. A choice the refugees gathered, trembling, watching him work. Fear and hope danced in their eyes. The elder spoke, voice cracking. Human, you would destroy yourself despite them? Marcus glanced up, meeting her molten gaze. Not despite them. To show them. Show them what? That humans don't kneel. The words silenced the chamber. For the Valen, it was unthinkable. For Marcus, it was everything. Rin knelt beside him, her voice low. Marcus, there's another way. If we can hold them long enough, maybe. Your people, this fleet, really will come. He hesitated. His fingers froze over the wires. Trust. That was harder than war. Harder than death. Finally, he exhaled, lowering his hand. Then we fight a little longer. The siege Titan's hours passed in a blur of smoke and blood. The Empire didn't retreat. They sent more soldiers, more machines. Each wave pressed. Deeper into the Undercity, Marcus and the refugees fought like cornered animals. Every pipe became a spear, every valve a bomb. He rigged traps from turbines and power lines, turning the cavern into a battlefield of sparks and fire. But numbers told the truth. For every soldier that fell, 2 more came. At last, Marcus staggered behind cover, chest heaving, his rifle nearly drained. Rin crouched beside him, blood streaking her crystalline skin. They're breaking through, she gasped. He nodded grimly. His body screamed with exhaustion, but his mind burned hot. We hold. One more time. Just one more time. The cavern shook with the Empire's advance. Soldiers poured through broken barricades. Marcus rose, rifle raised, ready to die standing. That was when the ceiling above them cracked open, and the world was filled with fire. The Drape ship tore through the stone like a blade, its hull black and scarred. Floodlights burned white across the cavern. Its cannons thundered, vaporizing Imperial troops in a storm of plasma. A voice boomed through speakers, raw and human. Free Terran fleet, hold your ground, brothers and sisters. Refugees shielded their eyes from the brilliance. Rin's mouth fell open. You weren't lying. Marcus's rifle lowered slowly. His throat tightened, eyes burning with something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The ship's hatch yawned. Open, and armored humans leapt into the fight, rifles blazing. Their armor bore no crest but one, a broken earth flag stitched in defiance. The cavern shook with battle. The Empire, for the first time, reeled backward. Marcus turned to the refugees. His voice rang like steel. Welcome to the war. The price of defiance. The cavern was thick with smoke and the stench of scorched armor. Bodies, Imperial and refugee alike, littered the ground. The once dead turbines glowed faintly from power surges, casting eerie shadows. Marcus stood rigid, staring at the human soldiers in front of him. He had dreamed of this for years, meeting survivors, fighters, his people, but he'd never thought it would feel like this. The Free Terran commander pulled off his helmet fully, revealing cropped, gray hair and a face worn by war. His eyes, however, still burned with fire. Commander Elias Vorn. He introduced himself, voice gravel and iron. He studied Marcus. Your Hal? The mechanic from Earth's siege? Marcus blinked. You know me? Vorn smirked. Faintly. Your sabotage during the Titan orbital battles? That story made the rounds. You crippled 3 Imperial destroyers with scrap charges. Thought you were dead. Marcus shifted uneasily, memories clawing at him. Those battles had been the last gasp of Earth's defense. He hadn't felt like a hero, then only a survivor. I'm not dead, Marcus muttered. No, Vorn said, gaze sharpening. You're still dangerous. The warning grows as human soldiers spread through the cavern, securing it. Rin stepped forward cautiously. The refugees behind her whispered in. Awe, their glowing eyes fixed on the new arrivals. One soldier raised his rifle, but Vorn stopped him with a hand. She's with you? Marcus nodded. She saved my life more than once. Rin tilted her head. I thought humans hated aliens. Some do, Vorn admitted coldly. But if she fought with you against the Empire, she's no enemy of mine. Rin's? Fiery eyes met Marcus's for the briefest moment. An unspoken bond forged in blood and fire. Vorn turned back to Marcus. You contacted us. That was dangerous. Marcus crossed his arms. So was breathing under the Empire's boot. They. Commander's mouth twitched, almost a smile. You've got a point, but that signal, they'll have traced it. Imperial reinforcements are coming, and they won't stop with soldiers this time. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? Asterisk, they'll send purifiers. The word hung like poison in the air. Rin stiffened. Orbital bombardment. Vorn nodded grimly. Glass the city. Burn everything humans, Valens. Every witness to your little act of defiance. The refugees gasped, voices breaking into panic. Children wailed. Elders shook. Marcus's chest clenched. He looked at Vorn. So we run? Vorn's eyes hardened. No, we make them bleed for every inch. And then we show the galaxy the truth. Humanity warned them. The price of defiance the Free Terran fleet didn't have the Empire's numbers. They couldn't win a war head-on. But what they had was cunning, desperation, and the ability to turn any battlefield into a graveyard. Marcus found himself standing among engineers and soldiers, sketching plans in dust with a piece of pipe. He'd never been an officer, but they listened anyway. Maybe because he understood the Undercity. Maybe because he'd already proven he could turn junk into weapons. We can reroute the turbines, Marcus explained, pointing to the lines. Of pipes, overload them. If we time it right, we can collapse the tunnels behind us, force them into choke points. And when they send tanks? A soldier asked. Marcus tapped the pipes again. We drown them in steam. The soldier chuckled darkly. You think like one of us. Vorn's eyes gleamed. He is one of us. Asterisk, but as plans formed, Marcus couldn't shake the faces of the refugees thin, fragile, terrified. They weren't fighters. They weren't supposed to pay the price for humanity's war. That night, while others rested, Marcus sat alone by a broken console. Rin approached quietly, her crystalline glow soft in the darkness. You carry too much weight, she said. Marcus rubbed his scarred jaw. These people didn't ask for this fight. And you did? She asked gently. He didn't answer. The silence was enough. Asterisk, she crouched beside him, eyes burning faintly. You humans are strange. You lose everything, yet still you fight. Why? Marcus looked at her. His voice was low, rough. Because if we don't, then everything we lost means nothing. Her hand brushed his briefly. Then maybe the Valens can learn that too. The firefalls, the first tremors, came at dawn. Not from within the tunnels, but from the sky. Refugees screamed as the ground shook violently. Dust poured from the ceiling. In the distance, thunder boomed. Marcus knew the sound instantly. Orbital fire. The Empire had begun the purge. Vorn barked orders. All units, brace. They'll drive survivors underground and burn the planet clean. The cavern erupted with motion. Soldiers scrambled, civilians panicked, alarms wailed. Marcus grabbed Rin's arm. We have to move them deeper away from the impact zones. She nodded sharply. Together, they herded refugees through narrow passages, guiding them with shouted words and desperate hands. The air grew hotter, filled with smoke and the metallic tahoe of fear. Above, the city screamed as towers fell. Entire districts vaporized in pillars of light. Marcus shoved children ahead of him, forcing himself not to look back. Every explosion was another grave dot, and then, deep in the tunnels, the roar of engines filled the air. Not Imperial engines. Vorn's soldiers cheered as 3 more Free Terran dropships roared into the cavern, carrying supplies and reinforcements. The sound of human voices on comms filled the chamber like thunder. Terra lives. Hold your ground. The ambush, the reprieve, was short-lived. Moments later, a seismic blast ripped through the cavern. A section of the ceiling collapsed, crushing 2 dropships before they could fully unload. Soldiers screamed as fire consumed them. Marcus shielded Rin from falling debris. His ears rang. Through the chaos, he saw them Imperial war machines advancing through the breach. Tall, insectal walkers with glowing cannons. Purifier units. The cavern shook with their advance, each step like a hammer blow. Vorn shouted over the din. All units, fall back to the choke point. Hail, get your people moving. Marcus looked around at the terrified refugees, at the walkers' looming shadows. His heart pounded. If they ran now, they'd be slaughtered in the open tunnels. The only chance was the turbines. He grabbed Rin's hand. We're not running. We're turning this station into a furnace. Her fiery eyes widened. Marcus, if you overload the turbines now, we either burn them, he said, or they burn everyone. The Empire trembles light consumed the cavern. A roar like the end of the world tore through stone and steel. The turbines exploded, hurling shards of metal in every direction. Superheated steam blasted outward in a wave that turned air into fire. Imperial walkers staggered, their glowing armor cracking under the sudden fury. One collapsed, legs buckling as steam hissed into its joints, boiling circuits alive. Marcus was thrown to the ground. His ears rang, vision swimming. He tasted iron in his mouthblood. Through the chaos, he felt a hand grip his arm. Rin's face swam into view, streaked with dust and glowing faintly under the haze. Her voice was muffled but urgent. You're still alive. Get up. He forced himself to his knees. Around them, the cavern was a storm of destruction. Refugees screamed. Soldiers fired blindly through fog. The Imperial machines burned, their corpses glowing red like molten statues. But not all of them had fallen. Through the boiling mist, 2 walkers remained. Their cannons lit up, preparing another volley. Move! Marcus shouted. He and Rin dove behind shattered consoles as energy blasts vaporized stone around them. Humanity strikes back before the walkers could fire again. The Free Terran fleet made their move. Dropship cannons thundered from above, slamming into the machines with precision strikes. One walker collapsed under a storm of plasma fire. The last reeled back, armor glowing, before finally toppling into the chasm below, a cavern filled with cheers. Refugees wept, clinging to one another. Human soldiers raised rifles, shouting victory cries. But Marcus knew better. This wasn't victory. It was survival. Barely. Commander Vorn stalked through the smoke, his armor blackened but unbroken. He surveyed the wreckage, then looked at Marcus. You bought us time, he said. Marcus coughed, wiping blood from his lip. Not enough. Vorn's grim nod confirmed it. The Empire will see this as rebellion. They'll send fleets, not squads. This world is already marked for death. Rin stepped forward, anger sparking in her fiery eyes. And what of my people? Are we to die for humanity's war? Vorn didn't flinch. You're already dying under the Empire's boot. At least now you can die fighting. Her jaw clenched, but she had no answer. Marcus rose, shaky but defiant. No, we're not here to die. We're here to show them something they can't bury. That humanity stands, that others can stand too. Vorn studied him carefully and let out a sharp laugh. You really are the same man from Titan, always turning desperation into defiance. A message hours later, the survivors regrouped. In the cavern's deepest chamber, where Kum's equipment had been hastily set up. Sparks still fell from damaged wires, but the system worked. Vorn stood before the transmitter. The galaxy needs to see this. Every strike, every act of defiance, is worthless unless the story spreads. Marcus stepped forward. Then let me say it. The commander raised an eyebrow. You? Marcus nodded. His voice was steady. I was there when Earth burned. I was there when humans were broken. And now I'm here when we rise again. Let me tell them what's coming. Silence stretched. Then Vorn stepped aside. The transmitter hummed alive. Marcus faced the lens, the weight of the galaxy pressing on his shoulders. This is Marcus Hall, he began, voice rough but clear. A human, a mechanic, a survivor. He took a breath. The Empire thinks it owns us, thinks it owns every world, every voice. They erase colonies. They burn cities. They make examples of us to keep the galaxy afraid. His hand clenched into a fist. But tonight, they failed. On Drenar, refugees and humans stood together. We fought their machines with nothing but scrap and courage. And we lived. Rin stepped beside him, her crystalline glow casting light into the frame. Not just humans, Valens too. We stood together. Marcus's throat tightened, but he continued. This is our final warning to the Empire. You cannot kill us all. You cannot silence us all. For every world you burn, 10 more will rise. For every human you break, 100 will fight back. Prepare for ruin. Vorn cut the feed. His jaw tightened. It's done. The signal's out. Every smuggler, every pirate, every free world will hear it. The Empire will too. Marcus exhaled slowly. He felt like he'd just set fire to the stars. The consequences, the reaction was swift. Within hours, Imperial ships darkened the sky. Their blockade encircled Drenar, blotting out the violet heavens with steel. From the surface, their engines glowed like a false sunrise. The Empire's message thundered across all frequencies. The species called humanity has declared defiance. Drenar will be purged as an example. All who shelter humans will share their fate. Rin whispered, voice hollow. They mean to wipe us out. Marcus's chest burned with fury. Then they'll have to try. The fracture in the cavern command post. Vorn laid out the truth. The free Terran fleet can't win this battle. We're shadows compared to their might. Our goal isn't to win. It's to survive long enough for the story to spread. If even one ship escapes with the refugees, then this wasn't for nothing. Marcus stared at him. And what about the rest of us? Vorn's eyes hardened. We hold the line, no matter the cost. The refugees cried out in protest. Rin stepped forward, fury in her fiery eyes. You would sacrifice us? Use us as pawns in your war? Marcus stepped between them, voice sharp. No, we don't sacrifice anyone. We find another way. Vorn snarled. There is no other way. Marcus's hands shook, but his voice was steady. There's always another way. That's what makes us human. The room went silent. Soldiers, refugees, even Vorn himself all stared at Marcus. Rin touched his arm gently. If you have a plan, now is the time. The plan Marcus's mind raced. He looked at the turbines, the caverns, the dropships, the people. He thought of every engine he'd ever fixed, every battle he'd ever survived. And then it clicked. The turbines aren't just weapons, he said. They're connected to the old geothermal vents. If we overload the system again controlled, not like last time, we can channel the eruption straight into the blockade above. Vorn frowned. You're talking about turning the planet's own heart into a cannon. Marcus nodded. Exactly. Enough power to crack open their fleet. Maybe not destroy it, but enough to create an opening for escape. Rin's eyes widened. That could tear the planet apart. Better a broken world than a dead one, Marcus said. We don't have time to be careful. Vorn studied him, then gave a slow, grim nod. You're insane. Marcus's scarred jaw tightened. I'm human. Humanity's final warning. The cavern shook like a beast in pain. Stone cracked, dust rained, and the echoes of marching soldiers filled the tunnels. The Empire was no longer probing, they were flooding in. Marcus sprinted through the chaos, heart pounding, every step driving him closer to the turbines buried deep beneath the city. His hands clutched a bundle of cables and tools. Not weapons. But if his plan worked, they'd be more powerful than any rifle. Behind him, Rin's voice rang out, urging refugees toward the waiting dropships. Children cried, elders stumbled. But she didn't falter. She was fire in the dark, guiding them with fierce determination. Move, she shouted. Every breath you take is defiance. Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to look back, to stay with her. But he couldn't. His place was at the heart of the storm. The heart of the world. The turbine chamber was massive, its walls alive with glowing veins of magma pulsing from the planet's core. Ancient machinery groaned as Marcus scrambled across. Catwalks and leapt over cracked platforms. Commander Vorn and 2 engineers were already there, working frantically. Sparks flew as they stripped wires and slammed fuses into place. You're late. Vorn barked without looking up. Marcus skidded beside him, breathing hard. Had to make sure we still had people to save. Vorn grunted, shoving a live cable into Marcus's hands. Good. Then help me finish this madness. Together, they rigged the turbines, not for power generation, but for destruction. Each connection drew energy from the planet's veins, pressure building with every seal, every overload. Sweat stung Marcus's eyes. His fingers bled where jagged. Metal tore skin, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Finally, the system roared alive, a monstrous heartbeat echoing through the chamber. The ground trembled as magma surged, hungry for release. Vorn's eyes gleamed in the red light. This will unleash hell. Marcus's jaw clenched. That's the point. The enemy descends. A thunderous crash shook the chamber. The blast doors buckled inward, glowing white under the assault of plasma cutters. They're here. One engineer gasped. Vorn raised his rifle, grim smile cutting across his scarred face. Then let's give them a welcome. The doors exploded inward, and Imperial soldiers poured through, faceless and merciless. Marcus ducked as bolts scorched past his head. He dove behind a console, firing back with Vorn. The engineers screamed, scrambling for cover. Hold them. Vorn roared. Marcus knew they couldn't not for long. He looked at the turbines, the glowing magma channels. The system was ready. All it needed was a trigger, and someone to stay behind. The decision, he shouted over the gunfire. Vorn, get to the dropships. The commander snarled. Don't be a fool. This is my fight. Marcus fired another burst, dropping a soldier. It's all our fight, but you're the commander. They need you out there. The galaxy needs your voice. Me? I'm just a mechanic. And this, he slapped the console, sparks flying. This is what I do. Vorn's jaw worked. For a moment, it looked like he'd argue. Then his expression softened, just slightly. "You stubborn bastard." "Human," Marcus corrected, flashing a bloody grin. Vorn hesitated only a heartbeat, longer before he slammed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Make it count." Then he turned and ran, dragging the engineers with him. The blast doors sealed behind them, leaving Marcus alone with the turbines. And the Empire. The last 10 soldiers advanced, rifles glowing. Marcus fired until his weapon clicked empty. He hurled it aside and grabbed a wrench, swinging it like a club. He fought like a man already dead, every strike fueled by fury, but numbers told the truth. He was cornered, bloodied, barely standing. One soldier raised his rifle for the killing shot. Marcus slammed his hand down on the final lever. Eruption. The world roared. Magma surged through turbines, igniting in a cataclysmic chain reaction. A pillar of fire tore upward, ripping through the cavern ceiling, through the city above, through the skies themselves. The eruption struck the Imperial blockade with the force of a planet's fury. Warships shattered in blinding light, hulls crumpling like paper. Entire cruisers vanished in molten fire, their screams cut short as they were swallowed by the explosion. From the ground, refugees and soldiers watched in stunned silence as the heavens themselves split open. The Empire's fleet burned, falling from the sky in pieces. For the first time in living memory, the Empire trembled. The message that couldn't be silenced in the command dropship. Vorn stared at the destruction. His cum officer turned to him, voice shaking. "Sir, the eruption was broadcast on every frequency. The whole sector saw it." Vorn's scarred face broke into a savage grin. "Good. Let them see." Rin pushed through the crowd of refugees, eyes wide, searching. "Where's Marcus?" Vorn's grin faded. His silence was answer enough. Rin's glow dimmed. She whispered, voice breaking. He stayed. Above them, the sky still burned with falling ships. And through the crackling coms, Marcus's recorded. Voice repeated the message he'd left before triggering the turbines. Final warning from humanity to the Galactic Empire. Prepare for ruin. The aftermath Renar smoldered, its cities broken, its skies scarred. But the people lived. Refugees filled the dropships, carried to safety by the free Terran fleet. Word of the eruption spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, whispers turned to roars. Client species, slaves, and outcasts spoke the name human not with mockery, but with awe. For the first time, the Empire was afraid. Rin stood at the viewport of a fleeing ship, watching the burning wreckage drift in the violet sky. Her reflection shimmered in the glass eyes burning like fire, tears streaking down. "Goodbye, Marcus," she whispered. Epilogue sparks in the dark weeks later. Across distant stars, a meeting of hidden leaders played a recording smuggled from Drenar. They watched Marcus Hale's face on the flickering screen, his scarred jaw set, his voice like iron. "This is humanity's final warning. We are not broken. We are not silent. Prepare for ruin." The leaders exchanged looks. For centuries, the Empire had ruled unchallenged. Now, in the shadows, rebellion stirred. And somewhere, among whispers and fire, a new legend was born. Marcus High, the mechanic who turned the planet into a weapon. The first spark of humanity's vengeance. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.